Ray Nagin will get the updated information on his city's preparedness for Hurricane Katrina.
The storm is intensifying and is still pointed toward New Orleans, and it's not a meteorologist or an expert that I have talked to that says that this storm will not impact New Orleans in a major way. A mandatory evacuation order is hereby called for all of the parish of Orleans, with only the following exceptions: essential personnel of the United States of America, State of Louisiana, and City of New Orleans, essential personnel of hospitals and their patients.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Safe Squad YouTube channel. My name is Darren, and today we'll be talking about the Lindy Boggs Medical Center in Mid-City, New Orleans. This place is often forgotten, considering its sister hospital, Memorial, was involved in a large court case. In this case, a doctor and 2 nurses supposedly euthanized patients to prevent suffering in what is known as mercy killings. This case was eventually dismissed, but again, because of this, the disaster at Lindy Boggs is often overlooked. The Lindy Boggs Medical Center was founded sometime in 1924, and at this time, it was known as Mercy Hospital. In the late 1950s, the building we're looking at today would be built to replace the old Mercy Hospital, which was demolished to make room for a supermarket. For 70 years, the hospital would be operated by the Sisters of Mercy. This would change in 1994 when the hospital was bought out by Tenet Healthcare and merged with Southern Baptist Hospital. The 2 hospitals operated together as the Mercy Baptist Medical Center until 1996, when it would be renamed after Lindy Boggs. Lindy Boggs was a Democratic congresswoman and ambassador in Louisiana who would be remembered as an important civil rights leader for the state. With Katrina approaching, the staff of Lindy Boggs Medical Center felt uneasy. Resisting all urge to clear themselves and family from the storm's path, the staff chose to stay behind to tend to their patients for as long as possible. With roughly 120 patients housed in the building with their families, they had hoped Katrina would be just another storm. While the storm wasn't as bad as expected, something worse was in store for the city of New Orleans. On Monday, August 29, 2005, as the storm dissipated, vital levees that keep waters of the Mississippi and Lake Pontchartrain at bay would fail. This would result in a citywide flood, and as the flooding got higher, people fled to the hospital from the nearby neighborhood. With over 500 people on the property, the 187-room hospital was packed full. As floodwaters got higher, a bad situation would only get worse. The basement generators failed, cutting off power, which resulted in the loss of air conditioning, light, and critical medical equipment. The city of New Orleans really let down first responders, hospital staff, and the citizens of New Orleans. City officials clearly had no idea what was going on, which led to confusion in the city. Hospitals would have delayed evacuation times due to city and state officials reporting that all the hospitals had been evacuated when they hadn't. The death toll for patients was roughly 8.8%. Excluding those who passed away after evacuating. The patients who passed after evacuation had died because of the wait time between evacuation sessions at hospitals. Hospital staff fought hard to keep patients alive as they waited for relief. The signs on the rooftop that read, "We're dying in here." The staff hoped that one of the several passing helicopters would stop and begin evacuation. With medical supplies being low, no clean water, and no place to remove waste, medical practice took a step back in time. With the power being out, the staff of about 145 people had to hustle to save lives. Not having any light or communication made this nearly impossible. As the wait for help continued, the elderly, transplant, and terminally ill patients were the first to go. Temperatures as high as 104 made the hospital a wet hell. Dr. Glenn Johnson, the chief of staff, knew that without more medicine, the whole struggle would be a loss. An organized team fought through the rising water and went to nearby private practices that had closed for the storm to look for more of the critical medicines that would keep patients going. After 3 life-endangering trips, it no longer became possible to get through the water safely with the medical supplies. Once the patients had been treated to the best of the staff's ability, Dr. Johnson decided that help wasn't going to come, and it was time to find a way to evacuate on their own. 3 days after the storm, a scavenging team had located some boats. The group made their way over, hotwired them, and began improvised evacuation procedures. On Wednesday, August 31st, an organized evac team from Shreveport finally showed up and told Johnson to grade the patients from A, B, to C to determine if they'd survive the evac process, A being good to travel, and C meaning they couldn't survive evacuation. His decision is one that haunts the entire staff at Lindy Boggs Medical. As the firefighters looked around, they knew it'd be a mass casualty incident. Knowing they couldn't get all 120 patients, plus the other 645 staff and civilians out all at once, they quickly worked on evacuating everyone they could for about 6 hours. After receiving a new set of orders to get out of the area due to gunshots and looting nearby, the firefighters refused to leave for about 45 minutes until sundown, where it was critical that they move on to other areas. By 7 p.m. on Wednesday, the firefighters had successfully gotten about 400 people out, including most of the 120 patients. However, with around 245 people left, several doctors and nurses made the tough decision to stay once more and keep the rest of the critically ill patients alive for as long as possible. While official rescue had receded, the improvised operation would continue the following day, getting the rest of the survivors out. After 5 days of being trapped in Lindy Boggs, the final improvised evacuation took place. The medication they had primarily used was morphine to ease the pain that normally other medications would have prevented. The doctors had stacked up on morphine due to the fact that people who came to the hospital seeking help brought their animals. As the last people were evacuated, some people would choose to euthanize their animals before the final evacuation due to not having enough resources to save the people and the animals at the time. Thankfully, one doctor chose to stay back and care for the remaining animals. Dr. James Riopel stayed back to care for more than 50 dogs, cats, and guinea pigs in the empty hospital. 6 days after the storm, a rescue attempt to save Dr. Riopel and the animals didn't go so well. 2 private helicopters were hired by Tenet Healthcare to evacuate the last of the human and furry lives on the inside of the hospital. One of the helos got pushed by a downdraft coming from the other chopper and lost its engine, resulting in a crash. The pilot survived, but the rescue was unfortunately delayed. Finally, 1 week after Katrina hits, help arrives. None other than actor Matthew McConaughey and a reporter walk into the Lindy Boggs Medical Center to help evacuate the pets and Dr. Riopel. Riopel's wife had gotten word out across the web through email, and Oprah Winfrey had seen the issue and sent her personal private security team down to get Riopel and the animals out of Lindy Boggs. Matthew McConaughey joined along to assist with evacuation procedures, as well as do some personal reporting on the disaster. By the end of it all, 27 bodies were pulled out of Lindy Boggs. 2 months after the storm, Tenet would lay off all employees of the hospital due to not knowing when they would reopen. In 2007, the property was listed to sell to Victory Real Estate after an attempt from other doctors, including former Lindy Boggs staff, to buy the site. Unfortunately, this was refused due to Ochsner purchasing other properties with this one included into the deal the year before. Ochsner wanted the new tenant to not practice anything medical on the site for the next 3 years out of respect of the disaster that happened 2 years prior. Ochsner decided to only take 3 of the 5 properties in the deal. As a result, Ochsner would not acquire Lindy Boggs, and it would be sold to the Georgia-based Victory Real Estate. In late 2007, Victory Real Estate acquired the proper permit to demolish the building. However, this didn't happen. Victory Real Estate had also purchased other nearby properties in an attempt to build up retail space, but their plan never materialized. In 2010, St. Margaret's Daughters, a Catholic nonprofit organization, purchased the property for $4.2 million, which is about half of what Victory Real Estate bought it for in 2007. St. Margaret's Daughters spent $37 million renovating the medical offices on the backside of the property. A 112-bed nursing home opened in the space in 2013. St. Margaret's intended to renovate the rest of the hospital into a cardiovascular hospital, along with LSU. However, LSU backed away due to having to finance the new UMC hospital that would replace the charity hospital downtown. In 2017, a hazmat cleanup was financed and St. Margaret's proposed a nursing home facility. However, nothing's been finalized.
Happening now, a cleanup at the former Lindy Boggs Medical Center in Mid-City. The center on Jeff Davis Parkway, formerly known as Mercy Hospital, hasn't been used since Hurricane Katrina. No word yet on what's in store for the abandoned facility.
It would be hard to place elderly people back into that building because of what's happened in its past. Currently, MCC Real Estate has a development agreement with St. Margaret's Daughters to renovate the old Lindy Boggs building. The CEO of MCC is Joe Yeager, who also owns many of the abandoned buildings in New Orleans, 2 of which we've covered, the Market Street Power Plant and the Picayune Times building. Elderly housing has been proposed, however no solidified actions have been decided upon yet. The building sits dark and empty in an ever-growing mid-city New Orleans. And that will conclude this video. Hope you all enjoyed the story of how Matthew McConaughey saved all those animals and how the doctors and nurses fought valiantly to save their patients' lives. We also have a video from the Oprah show that talks about McConaughey's journey to Lindy Boggs that I'll put in the description. Anyways, please like, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends. You should also turn on that notification bell so you never miss a video from us. And as always, stay safe out there.